Welcome to Fan Man Lighting. I'm the Fan Man. Today I'm going to show you how to convert your older Casablanca fan to our IT4 conversion system. So here we have a first generation fan. The model and serial number, the second letter tells us what year the fan was made. On a first generation fan, it would be R, S, T, or U as the second letter, or you can spell out the word rust to help remember that. If there are three letters and the second letter is being duplicated, that's a much younger fan. So if it's a double S, a double R, that is not a first generation fan. So a first generation fan, original to the fan would have been a 3-button switch, either a W11 or W12. It's just light, fan, and power. You hit fan and light to reverse. If the fan has been converted at some point, you might have a 4-button switch. This is the W32 that was used later. These also can be confused with the W85, W31, W33. Lots of variations of these 4-button switches, but that was not original to the fan if you have a first generation and would have started with a 3-button switch. A couple other telltale things: when you take the light off of the fan, you'll find a circuit card here. This would be original to a first generation fan, called an LDM. That's another way of determining that you have a first generation fan. This can be done while it's hanging on the ceiling. You take a few of the blades off. That gives us room to work on the body of the fan. Today we're going to show you off the ceiling. And we start, the only tools you really need are a standard and a Phillips screwdriver. Start with a standard screwdriver to open up the body of the fan. There's long bolts around the Now with all the bolts removed, we can remove the faceplate and the side band. Again, if this were hanging from the ceiling, the side band is actually taped at a seam. This tape usually falls off. We can retape that when we go to put this back together again. But the faceplate could lie in the remaining blades, removing the belly band out of our way. Now we've got the fan to open up. We can also confirm this is first generation because this has a black plastic chassis. If you open your fan up and you're not seeing the LDM, if you see this on an aluminum chassis, your fan has been converted at some point. So we would want to remove any pre-existing conversion plugs that go between the motor and the existing circuit board. There may be a conversion plug at the bottom of the fan. We want to remove all of that and just use our components for the conversion here. So now we've got this opened up, we can easily remove. Here's where the Phillips screwdriver comes into play. We've got 2 screws holding the existing circuit card to the side of the motor. So 2 screws. This is now plugged in. There's a big orange strip taped around the motor. This is for the older systems. That is obsolete on our control. We can now unplug. Sometimes these get a little stuck on here, so take my screwdriver, flathead, and kind of work this piece up. That's how that pops off the fan. I'm chipping away the board. The BFR, again, being an obsolete component, this we could just peel off and throw it away. Kind of move it out of the way here for today. So, this is an example of our conversion kit, and it really just plugs right in. Ours is a 9-pin connector going to a 7-pin connector, so we just need to center the 7-pin onto the 9-pin, leaving an open pin on either side here. And to confirm that we have the correct kit, there's a red and a brown wire on our kit. There's a red and a brown wire coming from the fan. Just make sure that those line up red to red, brown to brown. That makes sure we've got the plug oriented properly. That we also have the correct conversion kit. And you might put a little zip tie on here to kind of keep that tucked in. And it's just a matter of putting the 2 screws back in. The LDM is replaced with a conversion plug. So removing this, we have a little 4-pin connector. Another tip here, there's 3 wires going through this 4-pin connector. The spot that's blank, they usually have a little tiny piece of plastic kind of pushed in there. So I just take the point of my knife and kind of pry that piece out just to get it out of the way. Then we're going to line our plug up here. Now, keep in mind that the colors are not going to match from what's there. We are actually converting things further up line here. So it's just a matter of plugging this in. Now that gives us a black and a white wire to attach to the existing light. We can attach our light, something back together again. Belly band back in place. Okay, here we have a second generation fan. We open up the body of the fan. One telltale is feeding power to the light. There's just a black and a white wire coming out of the center shaft here. On the side of the motor, the circuit card, the old card, is attached to an aluminum chassis and plugged directly in. Our BFR in this generation is on a ribbon connector. That's an obsolete part, so the BFR can just be peeled off of the motor. That's this big orange strip here. The 7-pin plugged directly into the circuit board. Kind of wiggle on these and it pops off. If they get stuck on there, you can kind of take a screwdriver and slide that in to remove this part. 2 Phillips screws to remove this. Our board, centering the 7-pin into the 9-pin. Make sure that the red and the brown wires match up, and this will slide back in place of the existing board. Okay, for our last model and demonstration here, this is a stealth fan. There's a few models that we come in from the top of the fan to replace the circuit board. So the Stealth is one, the Bel Air, Venus, Mission fan. Those are all models where the top half of the housing comes apart. So in this case, we've got 3 Phillips screws that are kind of spaced evenly to the outer edge of the top of the housing. We don't want to remove the hex bolts at the center, the acorn nuts here. It's these 3 Phillips screws that we'll remove. Top half of the housing here removes. Now we'll see the circuit board is actually held by 2 little standoffs from the side of the motor. These have little Phillips screws. Take those off. And there's also a little clip here, so when I take that screw out, actually a little folded piece of metal that gives us the threads for the screws. We want to retain these for putting the new board on here. But it's just 2 screws. Take this off and plug our board. This model was actually an Advantage, so it didn't have the BFR. That's been removed already. We have our 7-pin plug. We would then match up with our conversion plug, making sure that the red and the brown match up. This will go back on. We have 2 slots here to take the clips. Put those back on to give us something for the screws to thread into. Just back here. Put those back together. Just make sure that our plugs don't drape down. You might use a little zip tie to get those up out of the way. And it's just a matter of putting the housing back on. It's a Stealth fan. So if we have any issues, sometimes this plug can be a problem where they're either melted to the old board, they could be just blackened a little bit inside there and not making connection. So plugs are there to make it easy. Occasionally you have to bypass the plug and just do a wire-to-wire connection. So give us a call if you got any issues there. We can help walk you through that one. Any other comments or questions, leave a comment in the section below. Shoot us an email, give us a call. Make sure to like and follow our page. And thanks for watching.